Hexagon's engines roar, they're first off the line. Feathers tailing close, feeling mighty fine. Superiors got strategy up in their sleeve, but Bright's got the speed, making us believe. Clutch club shifting gears, aiming for the lead. Locker up in the rear view, closing with great speed. Hell racers burning rubber on turn number 3. MH and trash car fighting wild and free. In the sweet racing league, the rivals play. All these teams are fighting, racing day by day. Victory's no easy feat, but they all strive. On this digital speedway, they come alive. Fans cheer for their heroes' names in the sky. Hexagons chasing dreams, won't let them fly. Feathers in the draft, feeling that breeze. Superiors driving smart, moving with ease. Bright's in the spotlight, glowing like the sun. Clutch club's not far behind, they're on the run. The lock-up's holding tight, won't let hope slip. Hell racers and MH, fighting for their grip. In the sweet racing league, the rivals play. All these teams are fighting, racing day by day. Victory's no easy feat, but they all strive. On this digital speedway, they come alive. Oh, come alive. In the sweet racing league, the rivals play. All these teams are fighting, racing day by day. Victory's no easy feat, but they all strive. On this digital speedway, they come alive.
Well, the season is firmly underway, and we are starting to see some championship contenders potentially putting their name forward to be champion this season. We are back for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's round number 3. It is the second annual Polski Logistics 350 here from Kansas Speedway. We had such an interesting race here last year. We had 10 cautions, so many that we actually had to, unfortunately, cut the race a bit short by 5 laps, and we ended up with 140 due to the time limit. Let's see how we get on today. Hopefully the whole 145 laps will be completed. We have a stage at lap 65 and loads of action, I'm sure. Of course, it's a 1.5 mile speedway, a lot faster than what we saw at Bristol just a couple of weeks ago, and it's left us with some very interesting numbers in the standings as well. It's going to be a great season of racing. We're just race 3. We have 14 until we get to the end of the regular season, and then of course 5 rounds of the playoffs to work out the champion all the way in May 2025, very far away from here. It's myself, Cameron Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me, and of course Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpot TV broadcast here for you tonight. And Ewan, I am really looking forward to this one, to be honest. Bristol was a little bit of carnage, but let's see, of course, how this one goes. We started with Auto Club, went to Bristol, and now we are at Kansas, and we do have a great calendar, don't we, Ewan?
We certainly do. This is the first 1.5 miles of 2.5 miles that we're going to have in the next 3 rounds. We're going to Homestead at the end of October, and then there'll be a bit of time away before we go to Charlotte for the final race of 2024. It has been an exciting start to the season, but as we've said time and time again, the first 4 rounds are so different in their schedules that we're not really going to have a great view as to who's really on top after those first 4 rounds. It's going to start to develop as we certainly get past 2024 into 2025, and we start to head towards those playoffs at the start or in the middle of March.
Yes, always an interesting one. We have a couple of drivers, of course, locked into the playoffs after the first 2 races. The standings, of course, as ever. If you get a win, you're basically locked in already, and that is Holmer and Eracingligan. But of course, in terms of the points standings, Eracingligan had a bit of a tough one, so he's down in 9th position. Linus Broström, he's been the most consistent so far, and of course, getting the stage points, which is a big thing for him. So he's tied on points with 98 with Dan Holmer, and just missing that elusive win to lock himself in already for the playoffs. But we look back at last year, and guess who won the race? It's someone who is actually not on the board there inside the top 10 in standings. It's Jesper Eriksson. This was his first race victory of the season last year. He hit Linus Broström on that final caution, on the final restart, I should say, with fresher tyres, and he was able to overtake Broström, who led most of this race. So Broström, you know, he's always one of those guys, maybe who finishes second all the time, is very consistent. Just needs to try and get a victory. But qualifying has come to an end, and here is the grid for today's race. And it is Jesper Eriksson. After his disconnection last time in Bristol, he comes back fighting pole position by 1/10 of a second to his old friend Eracingligan, your winner of the first race of the season. Broström is in 3rd, and Cedric Holmbaum, that's a good qualifying for him, up into 4th place. His sister teammate Fredriksson is in 5th after a strong showing in Bristol, and Peppels will round out your front 3 rows. Dan Holmer, your winner from Bristol, is then P7, Forsen up into P8, Åkesson 9th, while in 10th, Helmbro, a previous pole sitter in this series, P11, and Holmgren is P12. Helm and Show, they had a really good battles up towards the front in Bristol. There, your 7th row, Alto and Robert Eriksson in your 8th row, then Lundberg and Tademo round out your top 18. We do have a huge grid for today's race. Gans, Tyr, Schott, Hagström, all inside your top 22. Bratberg and Blomqvist are your top 24 for your 3rd race of the season. Zakrasson, Motin, Pfeffer, Wang, Uvanen and Kinnell round out your top 30. And then it's actually a couple of pages still to go. Big grid that we have here. We got Wildebar, we got Forsell, Skoglund, Bjorn Broström, Marcus Hogman, and we also have Savicki and Marcus Stiller, who weren't there. They are rounding out your 37 cars for today. Savicki, he'll be starting from the back of the grid due to amassing too many penalties at Bristol, so hopefully he can work his way forward after a very strong showing. He ran up towards the front in Bristol quite a lot, just got involved in a few too many incidents. And your race information today is, as we said, the 2nd annual Polski Logistics 350 350, 145 laps, stage at lap 65 with no caution. Remember, we stay under green, and that is important because fuel lasts about 55 to 60 laps, so you will have to pit before that stage. We have 4 sets of tyres, so you've got to be keeping the new ones in your pocket if we do have a few cautions. And of course, a couple of green-white checkers. So yeah, Ewan, a lot of interesting things that could happen today. As I mentioned, we had 10 cautions last year, which I would say is quite a lot for this style of track.
I would as well. I don't want to compare this to Fontana too much, or Auto Club I should call it, too much, because of course it is over a kilometre longer in length actually, that oval. However, we only got 1 caution round there and a whopping 107 what was it, 100 odd lap green flag run to the end of the race, whatever it was. So that maybe is a bit more of an indication of what we're going to see here today. But don't forget, this is a lot narrower than Auto Club. It's not quite Bristol narrow, but then again, we're not expecting 17 cautions either. It's going to be somewhere in the middle, I would hope, somewhere between 1 and 17, although less than 10 I would guess, because it has been a relatively clean season so far on this style of circuit. And as you say, I think that that number we had last year is on the high side, so let's see how many we get today.
Yes, of course, an interesting point of the season where it's still opening the door for some drivers to work their way to the front and become a championship contender. But also, if you're still having a bad race after 3 rounds, then you're really struggling in terms of the points. The pace car comes in, the 37 of Jesper Eriksson will bring us to the green flag as the 2nd annual Polski Logistics 350 gets underway here for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, and the SimRace Sweden driver gets a good launch. And of course, he's got the 2 MABI Bright Esports cars in behind, a lot of SimRace Sweden cars up towards the front as they work their way into turns 1 and 2 for the first time.
Yeah, we're expecting, as you say, a lot of tyre drop-off today, but a lot of punchy drivers off the start. And look at that, already loose off of 2. There, that looked like Fredriksson to me on the bottom, just getting a little bit loose. He caught it, though, thankfully. And it's a nice start for the leaders who single-file themselves out in the top 4.
Yeah, that was a little loose moment and something that he will need to avoid as the race goes on. Quite spread out, actually, towards the front after the first lap of racing. Here we go on to lap number 2 of 1:45. Of course, we get the wonderful webcam footage of loads of the drivers here putting themselves in the Zoom call. Great to see an insight into their rigs and how they obviously progress. More wiggles there in the midfield as we come through turn number 2. Caution is out, though. I saw Stiller going down. Yeah, the 27, that's Forsland. He's been around as well, and that brings out the first caution of the day.
It certainly does, and look at that look of resignation on the face of Kenneth Tier there. You can see the 49 just dropping to the bottom now. It looked like Magnus Hogman is at the back of the field. I saw Thomas Kinnell dropping down the field. I'm not sure if he was just being overtaken there or whether he was actually in trouble, but he was also dropping down, so we'll have to get a second view of that. But that was on the straight, effectively, where that would have all started. And as you can tell, that's an odd place to find yourself, so we'll have another look at that.
And everyone was seemingly pretty loose, so it must be fairly low grip out there just with the conditions on the track at the moment, I guess. And of course, the cars very close together on the first lap, or second lap, I guess, where we had the caution come out. So yeah, not the ideal start to the Polski Logistics 350. And let's see this once more. So cars are loose already, and then yeah, came down in towards Forsland. Is that Helm, I think, in the 55 machine, came down onto the 27, and then unfortunately Kenneth Tier just not able to avoid further contact in behind as well.
Yeah, and nothing that Tier could have done there, I'm afraid. And so that brings out our first caution of the day. We saw this a lot at Bristol, where the driver on the inside wasn't quite giving enough room to the driver on the outside, and so it causes a monumental crash. This is Oscar Motin's view. He sees the smoke up ahead. It's a good idea to dive down low because his chances of surviving are a little bit better, but for Oscar Motin, it wasn't quite a survival. And look at that, he's done a lot of damage to himself there.
Yeah, certainly as he's turning right in a left-handed corner. That's I know sometimes they set the car up like that, but that is a bit too much, and he's going to have to come in for some repairs. So we've got a lot of drivers in the pit lanes. We've got Motin, Tier, Hogman, Brustrom, Hogström, who's that? Skoglund, Savicki, and Schott. All of those drivers, about 8 to 9 drivers in the pit lane. A couple of them coming out now, and that is not the ideal situation. But for those who can sort of top up on fuel, get a few laps extra, they might actually now be able to get to the stage break, which is an important one for the points. We did see that last time around. I think it was Marcus Hogman and someone else. They stayed out longer and they were able to pick up a few of the playoff points, being inside the top 10 at the stage.
It's almost exactly what we were seeing at Auto Club, where we had a very early caution. Admittedly, we made it 3 laps at Fontana instead of just the 1 here. However, there was some drivers who came down pit lane. On this occasion, there are 9, and some of them, of course, are due to damage, like Kenneth Cheer and Oscar Motin, who have spent more than a minute and a half in. Michael Hagström had to spend over 30 seconds in pit lane as well. I'd assume that is down to damage. However, the other drivers, like Hagman, Broström, Skoglund, Sawicki and Schott, who were down the back already in most cases, they've taken on some fuel, and as you say, they may be able to make it to the stage break. The problem for them is going to be the tyre drop-off, which is going to be severe around here. Depending, of course, on how hot the circuit is. I'm not sure how hot track temperatures are at the moment, but even in cool temperatures, you do see quite some drop-off.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is mostly cloudy out there, 3 p.m. In the afternoon. It's not absolutely boiling on the track. It is, you know, sort of average temperature as such. So it's nothing crazy out there, but the drivers did seem a bit loose, which is just something that they'll need to factor in when we get to this next restart. It will be the same front row that we saw at the original green flag. Ericsson, the 37 on the pole, and of course the 24 of Aronson on the outside. Aronson already winning a race this season, and Ericsson struggling to pick up points thus far, but I'm sure he knows what he's doing, having won this race last year. We come back to the green flag as lap number 6 will commence, and what a start that was by Jesper Ericsson as we get the Polski just gets 350 underway once more, and we're just going through turns 1 and 2 very nicely so far. Everyone keeping some nice space between them, trying not to bring out the caution once more.
Yeah, exactly. We'll hope that now we can get a bit of green flag run going here and we can settle in, because the cars do still look very, very loose indeed. That's Oliver Wallin and Nicholas Helm going side by side in the background, by the way, for 8th place. Holmer involved now as well. Last round's winner, Daniel Holmer, moving backwards and gets behind both of them, who still remain side by side for 7th over the line.
They certainly do, and these are a couple of drivers who are becoming some very strong candidates in this championship. Of course, we had some big names show themselves towards the front last season, sort of dominating the sort of top 5-10 drivers, and now we've got a new few drivers put themselves towards the front in this 24-25 season. As we look a little bit further down, Holmgren in the 0.21 machine. He's going through nicely there, turn 3 and 4. And as you say, Ewan, it gets actually quite tight there on the exit of 4 as we come onto that try-over. We've got to be careful when going side by side.
It really isn't the widest circuit in the world, which surprises me sometimes. I remember it being a bit wider, actually, but it's not. And so that does prove to be problematic. That, by the way, coming out the pit lane was Oscar Motin after 4 minutes on pit lane. He's now at 5 laps down in this race and rejoins back out onto the circuit, battling past all the drivers at the moment as Dan Pepples works his way to the inside of Nicholas Helm. I was talking to him before the race. He said that his try drop-off was extraordinary, even after 25 laps. So he said he was expecting to drop down and run towards the back throughout this race, but he's made a good start at least.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to see how the race progresses and how much the drivers need to push, what the pace is like. We saw back at Bristol, is it interesting one there? We saw back at Bristol the driver of who is that? Sorry, going down the 84. Is that Uvinen? Yeah, Tony Uvinen, team alone. He's obviously having some issues. He was sort of dropping in and out there as he's going way slow on the apron. But going slow was Broström at that previous race in Bristol. He was the one who sort of went a bit slower than the pace. Looked like he just didn't have the speed, but then it's because he was saving the tyres for later in the stint.
Someone who's really moving through the field, by the way, is Dominic Sawicki. You mentioned had to start from, or was banned from qualifying, I should say, because he caused too many cautions in Bristol. 2 of those cautions, by the way, that he was involved in were after no laps of green flag running. So those restarts were especially poignant for him. He's making up some great progress, though. This is him on the outside of Daniel Blomqvist in the 4.87 through into 1 and 2. This will be his 17th position gained if he can indeed make this work. And of course, some of those will have come in the pit stops. He did come in, but he did make up some places as well. And so now he moves up to 19th place. A great start from him.
Yeah, he's looking very solid in this championship. And the cool thing with the playoffs as well is obviously if he can work his way to a race win, it doesn't matter if he has a sort of a tough race like this or Bristol. If he can get himself a race win, then he can obviously lock himself into the playoffs and think about that. Think just ahead towards the spring of 25 and then try and pick up some playoff points to help him as he's making up more places. There's the 18 of Lundberg going out behind him, and Helm has got it up into P5 past Fredriksson as well up towards the front. And look at that. I mean, it's a couple of months early, but the Santa's hat for Forsland.
It's what I would describe as 3 months early, but anyway, he's clearly excited. So on he goes in
he's
over the
excited
line
with the most deadpanned, concentrated face.
Yeah. Well, he's not thinking about Christmas right now, clearly, because as you say, he's got no emotion on his face. However, he clearly is excited. I would describe too excited, but there you go.
I think he just got a little bit loose there in the middle of 1 and 2 as well. You could see he's breathing a bit hard. There's definitely a bit of extra stress going through that corner. So I don't think all of the drivers completely settled into this racetrack, and I'm sure the groove will sort its way out. We were told, though, that all lines will work, and especially with the tyre drop-off that we are being told, potentially 2-3 seconds a lap slower by the end of the stint, then you are going to see drivers go higher and higher as they don't have the grip to hold it down to the low line.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised, by the way, that Forsland didn't come into pit lane during that previous caution. I would have thought he got some damage as a result of the contact and the skirmish with the wall, but he clearly didn't need to make a pit stop because he didn't on that occasion. Side by side for Oliver Bohlin now as he makes his way past Dan Peoples, who might now be suffering from the tyre wear I was speaking to him about before the race.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see a bit of a freight train going backwards. We'll have to see. He clearly, the fact that he said that to you, he's clearly worried about that. That's something that he's noticed in the practice. Of course, we do have a race every 2 weeks in this Oval Series, but then we now have, since started last week, the IndyCar Road Series as well coming in between. So drivers who do both are basically just swapping out cars every single week. It's not like you can practice for months and months. So definitely something that they will have to factor in over the course of the season. But Bohlin is looking very strong in that 72. We are on lap 16. This has remained green for over 10 laps now since we got back going.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the longest green flag run of the race, as I'm sure you might be able to imagine. So that's a good thing. By the way, Henrik Lindhoff was one of the winners last week, and Edwin Forsland won the other race. So there's the 2 race winners, in case you're interested. I know you'll be back next week. I hope that you'll be back next week for Road Series racing. But yeah, it is a different set of drivers, isn't it? And obviously it is very different racing, but it almost feels like a different series, different league entirely when we go road racing compared to the oval racing.
Yeah, such a great community of drivers though here for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. Been around for many years. I believe this is the 7th season, at least of the Oval Series, and of course we have the Road Course Series where we generally do a couple a season. So after the IndyCar one at the end of 24, I would assume is going to be something in 2025 as well. We had a couple of Formula 4 series last year, and of course Ericsson and Marcus Beifeld won the 2 series there. Very entertaining indeed. So every Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Swedish time, you know where to be, here on Raceball TV for Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan action as we continue here at Kansas for the Polski Logistics 350. Everyone is remaining in fairly single file so far, but the longer the stint goes on, we can definitely see the tyre wear is going to become a factor. When you start to see drivers moving around even more, it's going to be harder to keep it on the racing line.
I'm worried about the health of Dominic Sawicki's tyres because he's made up 22 places now. He's in 14th position in the race despite having to start on the back row of the field because of that. And that was Lagerkungen getting very close to the wall off of 2. We see that in every oval, everywhere. It's about getting as close to the wall as he possibly can without quite brushing it, as he's just going to get past there on the inside by Marcus Stiller, making up plenty of places himself, actually. He's up 16 so far.
Yeah, he started on the back row alongside Suiki, and the two of them making great progress in the opening phase of this race as Holmbom, caution comes out. Brostrom's gone down to 4th as the caution comes out, but I don't think it was them who were involved because they're still remaining in 3rd and 4th place. So someone has had issues a little bit further down. Lap 20 it is of 145, and we go under the 2nd caution of the day.
Absolutely. That's his a decent green flag run, but I still don't think long enough to see too many pit stops here. Jacques Xu was one of them, and he gets straight up into Dominic Suzuki. I'm afraid he didn't give the room that he should have done there, in my opinion.
No, and the 6, who started from the back today due to too many penalties in the previous race, is involved in another incident. So that's definitely something that Dominic needs to look out at. Of course, fault, may not be his side, but definitely involved in another incident.
Yeah, I mean, but what can he do about that? I mean, he's just trying to overtake people, and if someone comes up into him, I don't really see how that's his fault. That was a late call from whoever that was. Was that Ericsson?
Yeah.
Yeah,
certainly was, and it brought in a couple of the MABI Bright Esports drivers of Aronson, Brostrom and Bohlin, Savicki as well. So maybe it's just a team decision from the Bright Esports guys to come in, but it looks like the SimRace Sweden cars stay out and they will have the track position. Let's see this once again. Ewan, take us through it.
Yeah, so Wiki's making some progress on the outside. He has been all day. He's alongside for a long time. He's not right up next to the wall, I suppose, and that's going to be the argument from Jacques Xu, who says, well, he came down into me. But that angle does complicate things. I was talking about that first time round as if it was a slam dunk, but actually, Sawiki's not directly next to the wall and does have a bit of space to move up there, so that's a difficult one to call. Xu, as you might be able to imagine, is into pit lane, trying to see whether Sawicki did the same as well, and the answer to that is yes, he did come in for his first proper tyre change of the day.
Yeah, these new tyres are quite interesting actually. So we only have 4 sets for the race. So obviously if you divide the race into 4, we are less than a quarter of the race into the race. So, and he's actually having a few issues here, isn't he? Is Jock in the 34 machine, so there might be further time and position lost. Hopefully he can get back out and join the back of the train, but that is looking unlikely right now.
Yes, depending on how much damage he has to repair as well. He spent over 40 seconds in the box. Evan Forsland looks like he's finally repairing the damage that he got as he brought out the first caution. Michael Hagström also repairing a bit more damage. He did a bit of that in the first chicane. This was first caution. This is the entry to the box. I think his steering is not working because he went straight into the pit wall there.
Yes. Yeah, he's having a few issues here, isn't he? So he's not probably lining up enough in his box to start the repairs, which is a bit of a shame. So he's going to drop down for a driver who led and was at the front for a long time a couple of weeks ago at Bristol. That is really not the ideal situation. Yeah, he led 41 of the laps last time around, so needs to just maybe not slide up too high on the exit there, because obviously, as you say, Savicki, he was there, but it did look like the 34 just came up a little bit high. We're on lap 23. We have the stage at lap 65, so we have a decent way to go until then. Those with newer tyres, though, they will probably have at least half a second, if not maybe 0.7 of a second, a lap advantage when we go green.
Yeah, but most of them have gone for 2 tyres. Those that have gone for 4, I think, are Oliver Bohlin, Timo Wildeboer, and that is pretty much it, other than those maybe who took full repairs in this race and had to actually repair damage. So actually it could be a bit of a problem for those who have stayed out, but then again, the fact that they've only taken 2 for the most part could be to their advantage. I'm not entirely sure. Personally, I don't think they should have pitted quite so early. I would have been holding the tyres back for a little bit later, but I get the point that people do want to make it to the stage break with fuel, certainly. One more thing, by the way, interesting to note as I was looking through my notes from Bristol, that Xu brought or was involved in the 12th caution at Bristol 2 weeks ago by coming up into Blomqvist, who was on his outside on corner exit. So just interesting to note that there's been two fairly similar incidents in the space of 2 weeks.
Yeah, I guess it is the style of racing as well. It's easy to do, but hopefully we can obviously eradicate that as the season progresses. As I say, we did have 10 cautions here, so much that we did get a timed race last year. We didn't make the full lap count of 1:45. We are 5 lap shorts last time around. As the pace truck comes in, we'll get going once more, and we continue with Jesper Eriksson leading the way. The Svenska Eracingligan's round number 3 of the season gets underway once more after the second caution of the day. We got Helm, who's got himself up into second place. He's past the 10 already as he come through turns number 1 and 2, and Pepples is going to get himself up into third too as well.
Yeah, they've all gained, of course, because of the pit stops that have gone on through that most recent caution, but now they're also gaining on the circuit. Pepples up to third, ahead of Holmbohm, then Fredriksson, who was on the podium twice last week in the Road Series, now up inside the top 5 as we complete lap 25 in this race.
Yeah, and Jokke is actually still in the pit lane as well, so he's obviously had to go back in for some more repairs, and that is not ideal for his race. It's going to be many laps down by the time that all works itself out. And especially when we go green, those laps will go very quickly indeed as we work our way up to halfway of this first stage, lap 65. We do remain green. And remember, for those who've pitted, they'll easily get there in terms of fuel. For those who are staying out, if we stay green to then, we will need a pit stop from them to make it to the stage.
Well, do we? Because there's been a couple of cautions, so they will have saved a bit of fuel. So far, we spent 9 laps under caution, and so they should have saved about 4.5 green laps. Now, if you're at the upper end of our predictions, so 60 laps or so, then you are getting very close now to being able to make it. Maybe one more caution would be required for you to not stop before the stage break, but even then, you probably do need to save that little bit of fuel, and I'm not entirely sure these drivers, especially in the top 10, are going to be doing that, but we'll wait and see as we go on board with Evan Forsden. Now, this is where the action is, in amongst those who have made a pit stop under that caution.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the top 10 basically who have stayed out, then a couple of cars sprinkling in between, like Knell and Pfeffer. But most drivers are on at least 2 fresh tyres and full tanks. The top 10, though, are going to be under pressure from those cars coming in. They are being led by Aracingligan in the 24 machine, who's in P11, and he's first got Blomqvist to try and make his way. And I think as I say that, he has got up inside that top 10. So the fresher tyres, these few extra tenths of a lap of grip, will be helping them to get back up the field.
Yeah, this is Forsland again, looking up the inside out of turn 4, but can't really go anywhere. So they go over the line again to complete another lap, approaching lap 30, approaching half distance towards the stage break. And so far, I believe Jesper Eriksson has led every single lap of this race.
Yeah, he's enjoying it. He had a tough fight to the end of the previous iteration of this race last year, but he's certainly doing well as Bohlin gets past his teammate Aracingligan, who goes up way high to let the 72 through as such. And now Oliver is going for it. He's got Holmgren in front of him first to get himself up inside the top 9, and then they can try and, of course, maybe work together as teammates to get themselves even higher up the order.
Yeah, let's see if there is going to be any teamwork here. It's mostly single file at the front of this race. Side by side for third, though, as Cedric Holmbohm makes his way past Dan Peppels. And there goes the number 10, straight through. And based on what we were talking about earlier on, Peppels might well be overtaken by quite a few in this train. It's one long line, pretty much, back down to about 18th place.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like a 2-lane sort of track, but quite a few movements there on the steering wheel coming through turns 1 and 2 for Peppels. So yeah, the car definitely is not planted for the driver, as he has to work the wheel to keep the car in line. And of course, just losing that position, he needs to see if he can hold on. Oliver Bohlin now does get Holmgren up into P9. So slowly but surely, we are seeing these moves being made towards the front.
Certainly are. Bohlin, the primary amongst those. This is side by side back outside the top 20 now. Marcus Stiller sort of having to redo a lot of these overtakes that he did earlier on. This latest pit stop, though, has dropped him outside of the top 20, and so he's having to re-overtake Wilderboer here in the 3-2-1. But luckily for us, we can spot Stiller very easily in his probably one of the most vibrant liveries in the field.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of drivers in the pit lane. Well, Tidemo's just left the pit lane. Suiki was back in the pit lane as well. Alto. So, yeah, green flag stops those drivers losing a lot of time. And, yeah, especially as we were saying earlier, for the likes of Yokoshua and Suiki, drivers who we potentially are going to see up inside top 5, top 10 and most results this season. This is going to be a difficult race for them. But then in reverse, Jesper Eriksson, after a difficult couple of races, P12 in the championship for the driver who dominated most of last year, is finally back where he belongs at the front.
Absolutely. We continue to follow Stiller in 20 seconds. This is right down towards the back of this really long group that is really forming from the very front of this race right the way down here, really. Meanwhile, further up, side by side, this I believe is for 13th place. Linus Broström has dropped back relatively quickly here in the race, and maybe he's just taking it easy, as I mentioned earlier on, going for those stage points and working his way through to that stage break. However, he has dropped 11 places so far in this race.
Yes, he has, although I do think that strategy will come back to him. Let's see how it works. Of course, because you never know if there's another caution before his strategy comes into effect, then he has sort of net lost and everyone will get that back. So it just depends how it works out when the cautions are in the race. Of course, we are going to be expecting the next sort of pit stops for those. If it stays green, the drivers who've stayed out, the top 10 or top 8 now as such, they will be pitting around the stage, around lap 65. But for those who pitted already at that first caution, they can actually go another sort of 50 laps from here. So there's a bit of a difference in when they're going to pit.
That certainly is, yeah. So out of 2 again for this group. This is the battle for 6th place primarily. Daniel Holmer at the moment is in a position to actually be the sole leader of this championship by the time the stage break comes, if indeed he can stay there for the next 30 laps, or 29 as it is now. Currently holding on to 6th position, Holmer, but he is getting a lot of drivers stacked up behind him now. Primarily Oliver Wallin in the 72 is one really to watch. He took the longest stop, or one of the longest stops of anyone under that most recent caution, and he is the leader of those who have already pitted.
So there's Suiki coming back out in the 6 car. And just for an update on the pace, we were mentioning the tyre drop-off. We are over a second off the pace already. Oliver Wallin in the 72 there, making his way past Melvin Aukusson in the 086. So this is coming very nicely for him in this stint. He's now got Dan Holmer, your previous race winner, up ahead of him. But yeah, certainly the pace is dropping off, and as it does, we'll start to see the cars who have shown some better signs of tyre wear, as they'll be able to keep the pace that little bit higher.
Yeah, they certainly will. Into turn 3 again, excuse me, for Jesper Eriksson. Just ahead of Nicholas Helm, one of the biggest movers in the field. Helm is up 11 so far into 2nd place, although he is outdone by Magnus Hogman, who has made up 23 places so far, and he's in 12th position. Side by side further back as Wallin now making his move. The 72 is coming, and there he goes down the inside of Daniel Holmer for 6th.
Yeah, the MABI Bright Esports driver is working his way very, very nicely indeed, picking them off just one by one, working his way up the field. Of course, he was outside of the top 10 on that restart and is just working his way back. So his fresher tyres are doing well, but it seems like no one's really following him. Remember, Aracingligan was ahead. He was the first of the fresh tyre runners to break inside the top 10, but he's still in 11th place now. So he's actually lost a position. So it's only really the 72 that's making this work.
Yeah, Aracingligan dropping again here as Magnus Hogman gets past him. So it isn't working really for the race winner at Auto Club Speedway. The very first race of this season. There is one, and already on the back of Fredriksson, there was quite a gap for the 72 to cross there, and already he's looking at 5th place. This is the fascination with oval racing and different strategies playing out through long green flag runs like this one. Absolutely fascinating racing, because you've got drivers who have been on the same tyre since the very start, and some drivers who have put new ones on, banking on there not being a caution before the next stage break. And I believe if there isn't one, Oliver Wallin is a shoo-in to take 10 points.
Some people say it's just turning left and it's not very interesting, but there's such a style of driving, and that is why you have this whole community of Swedish drivers who love going oval racing. They love turning left, and even though we will actually have a road course race this season, but we will certainly have to see how that one works out. But for the oval racing, it's pretty crazy how you see the tyre drop off, how you have to balance the car through the corners. We had that on board not too long ago. The drivers having to really wiggle the wheel about, keep that car in line, keep the momentum going forward. Obviously, for those who can do it that little bit better, then that is working out well. The 72 is sitting behind the 112 here. I wonder, is this a tiny bit of saving before he starts making moves again?
Yeah, I think he is just being careful. He's not willing to rip up these tyres completely because he knows that he has made an early stop as far as this race goes. You mentioned it at the time. The caution came out at a stage where we hadn't done a quarter of the race yet, and I would argue you'd want to do a quarter of the race before changing any tyres. So what he's had to do in this stint now is just be a little bit careful on these tyres, make sure that he doesn't rip them apart. This is going to get interesting, by the way. Dominic Sawicki's on the outside trying to make things work as an unlapping driver. He is 8 down at the moment, looking for points, and he's got new tyres on, of course, amongst the leaders who are also passing lap cars of their own on older tyres. It's all very messy. People on different laps everywhere.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the cautions early on, it's brought that lap traffic into play a bit earlier in the race, obviously, than if it had stayed green. So they need to be careful. Of course, they, as per the rules, they are able to, sort of be there, but they need to be careful to just not really get too far involved. Don't want to make any bad names for yourself this early in the season. You do need friends when you get later on. Here is the number 18 of Lundberg for Trash Car Customs, as he has his battle. He's currently down in P18 as well, and of course he's got Zacharson there in the 39 machine trying to have his battle as they are obviously trying to work their way back up. These drivers both pit under that second caution, I believe it was, when everyone came in.
Look at Oliver Bohlin here, looking again at Paypals this time in 5th place. He's side by side with the 61. That's Michael Hogström, who's just made his way out of the pit lane from a 3-minute pit stop, by the way. He's one of 8 drivers who are already multiple laps down in this race and circulating for points. Dominic Sawicki in the red car right behind him is trying to unlap himself.
Oh, and the pebbles there went up into the wall. I don't know if that was a push, effectively, from Oliver Bohlin, but certainly there was the SimRace speeding car going into the wall. I think Bohlin does have the run coming down the back straight as well, which will be for 4th position. The 112 of Fredriksson might just follow him through an assisted team. Maybe not quite enough this time around, but yeah, the 72 getting past. But I wonder, was that just a bit of contact on the straight, or was that just because of when they lifted off into turn 1?
This is Daniel Blomqvist looking down the inside here for 13th place on Linus Broström, who is starting to make some moves here in the 71, by the way. Commented earlier that he was falling backwards. He knows that he can't do that forever, and he's now making up some ground. Hakan Schott in the background, by the way, looking to take advantage of that on the inside of Blomqvist into 3 and 4.
Fredriksson also gets pebbles for P5, so loads of little battles starting to show. The longer this green flag run goes, seems like the more the battles are coming towards the drivers as the potential little mistakes come in. The tyres drop even more, and it's harder to keep that momentum going. And of course, the stage coming at lap 65, so just 17 laps to go. Is not too long to try and work your positions for the likes of Linus Broström down in P13. He does have some places to gain if he wants to get significant points.
Certainly does. By the way, you won't be surprised to learn that this is the longest green flag run of the race so far. We now pass 24 laps in this green flag run, which is certainly a good thing. And we're not too far away, by the way, from this being the longest green flag run in terms of distance since Auto Club Speedway, such as the relentlessness of cautions 2 weeks ago at Bristol.
That's a crazy start. Of course, this track is a bit longer, so the lap count is different, but as you say, in terms of distance, that is quite an interesting one. Just showing you how messy that Bristol race was. That your 79 of Dan Holmer, of course, took victory just 2 weeks ago. As we ride on board, looking backwards from Linus Broström, who is still in this 13th place. He's got Aracingligan, his teammate, up ahead, but by a second. So they still have a good bit of work to do because Eracingligan is 1.5 seconds off the top 10 as well. So definitely not the ideal situation as we're seeing Åkesson and Helmbro having a battle. Ooh. Slides down to the inside, does the 86, just wiping off the nose of the 77. They managed to get through on Dan Holmer as well, the 79. Well, actually one does. There's a bit of issues up ahead. Is that Bohlin? Yes, Bohlin's dropping down. He must have had an issue off 4.
Yeah, he must have. The tyre smoke as well says all you need to know. Now, was that on his own, or did he get some help? Because there are multiple lap drivers around there and multiple drivers on his lap around that part of the order as well. So Oliver Bohlin may well have got into contact. Let's see. He was down the inside here of Holmbom, and it was Helm. Was it trying to get into pit lane? He was slow through 3 and 4, certainly. And then as they were slowing, Bohlin got hit in the rear. It was Helm trying to come to pit lane because now he has.
Yeah, that's really not ideal for all of those drivers involved. It's a bit of a messy situation. The 112 of Fredriksson, who's now up into 3rd place, also, of course, getting involved. Maybe a bit of contact in the background there, so not ideal. We've seen the blue and black machine in the background there. Marcus Hordman getting involved now up inside the top 10, but up ahead, Helmbro is still trying to make some moves as he's following the 086 through as Sawicki goes up on the high line, laps down as they continue their way forward. Lap 52 now, we continue under green.
Yeah, this is the battle for 5th position, the top 4 racing away. By the way, Dan Peppel's still 4th place. Either what he was telling me about the tyre wear at the start, his own tyre wear at the start was complete rubbish, or he's just driving very well compared to what he was expecting to. We'll wait and see on that front, but he can be quite self-critical of himself. I bet he can't believe where he is at the moment. Still 4th over 50 laps in, over a third of the way into this race, and challenging those front 3, although the top 5 for the most part are fairly spread apart. It's the battle for 5th position, which is probably most interesting.
Absolutely, there is a bit of a gap forming as well at the front. Ericsson still leading, but by 2 seconds, which is certainly a big margin in this style of racing. As we look at the 12 machine there of Hordman, he's getting on the back of Holmer. Holmer's been going backwards a little bit in the last 5 laps or so, maybe just starting to struggle on those tyres. He is one of the lower down drivers who hasn't stopped so far in this race. Hordman is now the highest driver who has, so he's making that strategy work for himself as they work on the main straight. Look at the drivers wiggling all over the place as they use completely different lines.
It's amazing. This is what you get at Kansas. I think this is the race so far with actually the least variability in terms of line selection, but actually there is still quite a lot to speak of through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. At Auto Club, you know, you had 3 or 4 different lines. Bristol, there was plenty of different options for you as well. But round here, it does seem like going on the bottom, especially to save tyres, does seem to be the place to be. And for some drivers, it's just the place to be fastest as well, as Oscar Fredriksson now looks up the inside of Holmbom for second.
Certainly does. He's becoming stronger and stronger as the stint goes on, and he gets through up into 2nd place. Holmbom now down into 3rd. They've made a gap from Peppels in the 329 behind them as well, so they are looking very good. And SimRace Sweden in general, they are locking out these front positions. So, of course, they've got a couple of different teams. They've got the white and the black as well to denote the academy and whatnot. But they've got 5 drivers, no, maybe that's 6 drivers inside the top 7 as it stands, because they were the ones who stayed out. But MABI Esports, they're coming stronger. Of course, we've got Araton here. We've got his teammate of Linus Brustrom also, as they try and get inside these top 10 positions for a few points at the stage.
Yep, 10-1 points for the top 10, by the way, in case you've not seen an oval race this season. This being round 3, of course, and they can be relatively important as well in terms of picking up those stage points. So far, Magnus Hogman has the most with 14. Dominic Sawicki has 13 in the 2 races so far. Linus Brostrom has 10, and all of the drivers who are in the top 5 of the current championship standings, although it's early, have all picked up some, at least, stage points in the first 2 races.
Yeah, they're definitely important. If you think about it with the point system, if it gets down to a point per position. So if you finish in, let's say, 6th place, you get 5 points. That's like 5 positions that you'd have to overtake. There's a huge send to the inside there from the 55. Helm absolutely moving the 101 out of the way. Of course, this car is laps down on fresher tyres after a pit, but oh my word, you saw the grip difference there.
Yeah, exactly. This is the difference. Jesper Eriksson, by the way, is 1.3 seconds slower than his personal best lap time on that last time round. Nicholas Helm is going to be setting some of his best, although the traffic will probably prevent him from going absolute quickest. He's about to come up on Forsell, by the way, Fredrik Forsell, who's been legitimately overtaken and lapped in this race. You can see him up there in the 5. Look at how Helm got through on him as Jesper Eriksson has to pit before the stage break.
Yeah, so does his teammates. They pretty much all come in, although it looks like Peppels has stayed out, Holmer, Hogman, but Fredriksson, Holmbaum, Åkesson, they've all come in. They couldn't make it lap 65. Remember, the end of lap 65 is...
Yeah, it's lap 65 that will be the stage break for this one. 5 to go at the end of it. Dan Peppels will
where the stage
currently lead.
And those who didn't hit so...
Sorry, you cut out there, Cam. I'm not. I apologise for talking over you. I was just saying, Dan Peppels, it's still in the lead with about 5 to go. I'm beginning to wonder whether he can make it, but it's still a long way to go.
Yeah, he's sliding on the rear end as well. I do wonder about that, but let's see if he can make it work, because 5 laps extra than the mighty Jesper Eriksson is certainly a big feat. So let's see who's going to be leading. So it'll be Marcus Hogman is going to be the first driver, then Arvidsson, then Wallin, Broström are going to be your top sort of 4 if they can stay out. Homer is still out. He was a bit slower, actually, so maybe he was a bit slower due to saving fuel. He needs to get 3 more laps though.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier that he was creating a train. I think it was in the battle for 6th position maybe earlier on in the race. He was pretty slow by his standards, especially for someone who won 2 weeks ago. But maybe that is the reason. The problem he's going to have is that he will probably have to still do some fuel saving, and he's got Magnus Hogman right behind him. So the chances of him winning the stage are quite low, and they're even lower now because he's come into pit lane.
And also, remember, it's actually lap 66 that you need to get to, because you have to complete 65, then do a whole extra lap to get back to pit road. So definitely an interesting one. So Hogman takes the lead, and he's got it by 1.8 seconds. He's looking very strong to get those 10 points. Arvidsson is in second, then Wallin, then Schott, then Broström. So the MABI Esports cars coming back a bit stronger with that strategy. But now the roles are reversed, because, of course, those who have pit earlier, they're now on 40-lap-old tyres compared to the fresh ones in behind. However, Jesper Eriksson is, of course, almost a lap down, so that is a lot of time to make up if obviously the strategies will eventually equal under green flag.
Yeah, by the way, if things were to end right now, Linus Broström would be the new points leader, but he would only have it in terms of overall points, by the way. That would be only by 1 point, though, over Marcus Hogman, excuse me, and Holmer would be down to 3rd from the lead of the points earlier on. Side by side for 3rd place. These are important battles as the stage break and the stage points are about to be dished out.
Absolutely, we come on to lap 65, so the end of this one, the points will be given out for the top 10. 10 for the win, 1 point for P10. So Stiller, from the back row of the grid, might be able to steal a playoff point. Let's see how that one goes, as he has half a lap to hold on. Hogman is looking very nicely, 2-second lead behind. Is there going to be any final changes? But either way, it looks like it is going to be Marcus Hogman in the 12 machine out of turn 4. He'll be taking the stage victory, an extra 10 points for him. And now we are looking to see for the final couple of drivers. No, it will be Schott who holds on to that 3rd place, as Wallin will get 4th, but we continue under green flag racing, and Stiller in the back does just nick 1 final bonus point.
Yeah, this is the way to do proper stage racing, isn't it? Take the points, but also continue racing. Why do we need a caution? Just continue on, why not? So 80 laps remaining, still more than half of this race remaining, this fascinating race remaining, I should say. 16 drivers on the lead lap. A caution at this stage would be catastrophic for many drivers, and now the pit stops are going to start flooding, especially for those who came in under the very first caution of the race and are still out there, like Marcus Hogman and Håkan Schott, who you can see in the 101 coming in. There is Marcus Stiller, who also came in under both cautions, actually. He's in now too.
Yeah, actually, that is a very good point to make. So, of course, these drivers, they did pit under a caution, but we had a caution on lap 2. So it wasn't exactly like they were much longer, but it was enough compared to Jesper Eriksson and co to stay out and get those extra points. And Jesper Eriksson finishing, well, he's currently P13 as Lindberg as well is coming down. So very interesting. Holborn now comes in, and that will allow the Bright Esports drivers to go 1, 2, and 3 at the front, and certainly enjoying that strategy for now. But they will actually have to pit already in 10 or so laps time, such is the way of the fuel tank.
Yeah, that's been such a long green flag run that even those who have pitted under caution are now going to be pitting under green as well. As look at this for Ericsson. This is why oval racing is so fascinating. I've said it about 10 minutes ago, but it's such an interesting race. Ericsson is one of the slowest drivers in the field, but he's leading the race and he's getting overtaken left, right and centre. These are mostly people unlapping themselves. Melvin Ackerson will be next to do that, but he's 16th position in the 086. So he's unlapping himself from 16th position, and well, that's odd, really, isn't it? As Timo Wurderberg comes in a slightly odd fashion.
Did he spin around there or something? That was an interesting line and speed that he had down pit road, as we're going to see him. So he's doing good so far.
Whoa,
trying to get his stops. Yeah, he gets on the grass and goes for a spin. Hopefully he didn't get a speeding penalty from that, just to add to his woes in this race. We go back up towards the front, though, because Forsen is in a big battle. Got Bratberg just in behind. Some big gaps up inside the top 10 though, as the pit stops have completely spread everyone out.
I think you've got two options on the end of this stage break here that we've just had. Either, for those drivers who came in under the second caution I'm talking about here, either you come in the next 5 laps, as Alexander Aronson has just decided to do, or I think you run out as long as possible. You stay out for as long as possible and hope to catch a caution, because if you're staying out, you are going to get undercut horrifically, but you do have the chance of catching a caution. And of course, you'll have fresher tyres by 20, 30 laps over some drivers when you do make that change. So you've either got to come in immediately and sort of cover off the undercut that loads of drivers like Helm are getting at the moment, Nicholas Helm in 9th place, now 8th place, or you stay out as long as possible and try and catch everyone out.
And Aronson has chosen the coming in early trick, such as Bohlin. So this is actually early, so they have not done full tanks of fuel, which is also good because that means they'll have a slightly shorter stop because they won't need as much fuel to get back to full as well. The 71 of Broström stays out though. So these drivers, they're coming in a bit early, as you say, to cover off the undercut effectively from the drivers who did do that pit, but they are now not going to have an advantage later on. Whereas those who stay out, like Broström, if he stays another 10 laps to the very end of his fuel tank, he's going to have a bigger delta on the tyre advantage in the final stint or two.
And look at this in front of Cedric Helmbo at the moment, not least Helmbo, who's actually in his lap, but everybody else as well who's battling. So that was, I think that's Stiller, isn't it, on the outside there. Helmbo not deciding to make it 3 wide because that would be an excruciatingly tight line on the way in towards turn 3 on Helmbro, who's still ahead of him. And there, Dan Pepel's coming up very, very quickly indeed. He's on new tyres as well, of course.
And continuing your point of oval racing, which is absolutely crazy. Of course, Hogman winning the stage and Aronson leading up thereafter. They're now a lap down out of nowhere. So if you went and got a coffee and came back, didn't know what happened. All of a sudden they're a lap down. Crazy stuff here as cars are all over the place. There's so many strategies out there on the track. We've got huge gaps, 20 seconds covering the top 10, and the drivers are just trying to find a place on the track for themselves. You've got the high line working for some, the low line working for others, and it is just getting a little bit hectic out there. So the drivers need to keep a lid on it and try and keep as calm as they are, but it's certainly very difficult when you've got these very intense battles.
It's so intense out there at the moment. Jesper Eriksson, by the way, is now ahead of Jonas Skoglund. So not only did he get undercut by the likes of Nicholas Helm, but actually coming out the pit lane, he's been very quick indeed. He's made great progress. And of those who have not pitted under a single caution yet, he is the leader of them, and he's comfortably on the lead lap. So that is the downside of a Linus Broström type strategy, which is what I would have gone for, actually, just staying out and running this as long as possible. He is catching some people out because there are still only 13 on the lead lap. However, he's got Jesper Eriksson only 10 seconds behind him, and that will be a problem.
Yeah, this is where he needs a caution right at about the point where he wants to stop, ideally. So Eriksson, actually, at the pace that he is, a second and a half a lap faster, he's going to be almost on the back of Brewster by the time Brewster makes his pit stop shortly. Or at least he's going to be at least sub 5 seconds, I would say. So he's going to have almost caught that up. Crazy stuff with what the new tyres do around here. And they drop off very, very, very quickly. And that's why you need to be keeping the tyres in check. But some strategies will work under green. Some strategies will work with an extra caution involved or two. So it kind of depends which one you want to gamble on.
And Linus Broström has decided that enough is enough. He doesn't want to be caught and overtaken on the circuit. Decides that it's better to just bite the dust now and take your medicine. Another reason and advantage, by the way, why I stay out another 5 laps or so is that if Zakrusson and Bratberg especially can just stay out and eke as much as possible out of their cars here, then they can get to a stage where they are able to pit and make it home on fuel. Then we're already in that window. 60 laps is what you really want to be within. So lap 85, those two can probably go another 5 laps. So they're right on the cusp of making it now as well.
Yeah, that is a very good point regarding the fuel. Although it's not happened. It was a good idea, Ewan, but unfortunately they haven't followed along with your theory. So Jesper Eriksson goes back to the front after being almost a lap down. Absolutely insane stuff we're seeing here with how quickly the order is changing, and who knows which one is going to work out. That's what we're here for the next 60-odd laps of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. Round number 3, the Polski Logistics 350, the second annual one of this race. We had a very interesting one with late cautions last time. Are we going to see that again as Pepels gets up into the wall and his teammate Holbom comes through?
Certainly does. If you ever want any confirmation of these drivers not listening to the broadcast at the time, then that was exactly it, because they're ignoring me directly, clearly. Only Bratberg now is out there at the front, although he's got Jonas Skoglund as well, I suppose, but those two are the only ones. In fairness to them, though, they might actually be starting to run out of fuel now. We know the pit window is between 55 and 60 laps. They've done 57 now, Bratberg and Skoglund, so they have actually gone quite a long way, although some of those will have been under the caution that they pitted under, so they should be able to go a little bit further. We'll wait and see, though. Now 18 drivers on the lead lap, so there's a few less being caught out, but because this green flag run is so long, notwithstanding all the pit stops which generally put people laps down, but actually just the pace of the race is starting to put people laps down as well now.
Oh, definitely. We're seeing huge differentials on the lap time, not just through obviously the talent of the drivers, but the strategies as well. We're seeing Ericsson, he's doing 32.7s. There's people out there doing 34.0s, the likes of Bratberg. There's others now doing low 32, some of the 33s. It's all over the place with the pace, and that just shows you how the tyres work themselves out. Bratberg comes down pit road. 58 laps he's done on that stint. Skoglund stays out for an extra lap compared to him, which is very interesting. Bit of a different saving strategy between the two. But of course, actually, with the laps being so short, obviously saving 1 lap is a little bit easier as such compared to other forms of racing.
It is. So that will be factored, or we'll try and factor that in as we go on. Jonas Skoglund, the last one remaining then, with Anton Bratberg into pit lane. He's now down to 3rd. Is Skoglund? He's at 8.5 seconds, 9 seconds now. He's slowing down to go into pit lane. So that is a 60-lap stint from him. If he does another one of those, then he'll be 3 short. So he does need a caution, but he could make it without stopping again. I'd imagine, though, if there is a caution, then he'd just pit under it. So we're probably going to see everybody still pitting again.
Yeah, because he's gone so deep, depending on the situation. No, because if there's caution, they'd all be on the same fresh tyres. But who knows? He might have a little bit of a tyre advantage if we go green as well, as the others will have to stop also, but he'll have a much shorter stop towards the end of this race, at least, and he could play that, maybe actually stop early, sort of balance out the pace over the course of that 2 stints and not doing a splash at the end. We see the 24 here of Eracingligan working his way through. He's down in P9, 23 seconds off, so 2/3 of a lap he is behind, and that is just really due to the strategy, that big undercut from Jesper Eriksson, and that is the time gap that it gets you.
Oh dear, Sawicki on the outside there. That looked pretty awkward on the way in towards turn 1 and 2. That wasn't a battle for position, and Sawicki's been involved in something else here. That was side by side, I believe, a few moments ago, and Aronson 4 wide. Well, he was second from bottom on the inside there with Sawicki, and then there was contact with. So that's that's the initial contact with Sawicki, and then can we call that 4 wide? I think we can just about get away with that.
Yeah, very scary. That was Thomas Kinnell, the 14, as the two lines almost collided. We got the 77 of Helmbro sending it down the inside of Holmbom up in towards turn 3. Can he make that stick? This is a strong showing from the 77, who has been on pole a couple of times last season, but not necessarily the results that he would have wanted. He's just going to have his nose chopped off a little bit by the 10. The door remains open for 1, but he decides to go back in and now go to the outside to try and get a bit of a switch of the lines, get some momentum onto the back straight.
These guys, as I mentioned earlier, long way off the lead, but they are on the same strategy effectively as Jesper Eriksson. So this is a legitimate battle for third position, and they will be catching Nicholas Helm as well, or should be, because their tyres are about 8 laps younger. Helmbo, though, very much stuck in the dirty air, if you can call it that, of Cedric Holmbom now, because the low line just seemed to be the favoured one today.
Yeah, it seems so. No one really using the Kyle Larson line up high. Even with the tyre wear that we saw at the end of some of the stints, people weren't going too crazy. But definitely the midline does come into factor a little bit. I guess the low line is shorter, so definitely a bit easier from that point of view. And as we stand, so we're lap 87. We have been under green flag for a long time now. Helm from the second place there comes down into pit lane. And we are going to be seeing, of course, some looks here on the front straight away as well. Actually, no, sorry, that's Forsen who's a lap down, getting involved with his teammate. But we are seeing Jesper Eriksson leading by some 12 seconds up towards the front. He's looking very strong. You know, it's even some strategy. That's going to be some big distance to overcome for the other drivers.
I think Helm is sort of banking on the fact that or banking on the idea maybe that we can go green to the end of the race from here. I personally don't really believe that's going to be possible actually, but I think that's what he's kind of banking on, because we're within that 60 lap range. Anyone who pits now can make it to the end, and it might be worth responding here if you're around him, especially the likes of Holmbom and Helbro. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't respond here pretty soon, because I know they've not been out there for long, but actually they're going to get undercut if they're not careful.
And it is good because they will still have one extra set of new tyres, exactly, I believe, as well, if there is a late caution. So it is a good idea because it covers off both green flag racing to the end and caution racing to the end. So maybe, but he only did 35 laps on that stint. So he didn't really use it as much as he could potentially, compared to the fact that he's going to have to do 60 laps. The stint is going to be a lot longer, a lot slower. But then I guess the track position is always a big thing too.
But look at the tyre drop-off that we've already had. Even though they've barely gone half a fuel tank, they have actually lost over a second in terms of tyre wear. So actually will be a second a lap quicker than those up front, and that is important in terms of getting that track position and getting that undercut. So I think this is a good idea for Helm, especially the situation he's been in, and I always like to see someone prevailing who does something a little bit different on the strategy. The only problem for him though is he's down in 24th, and he'll have to do most of those overtakes on the circuit.
Yeah, though one would argue, though, then when, 30 laps time, when Eriksson comes in, he's then going to have the 30 lap fresher tyres, and then we'll have the second advantage as well at the end. So it's a bit of an interesting one, which one will work out if we do remain green. But we have remained green for a very long time now. We're coming up to lap 100 very quickly. And I wonder if we do see a caution. We had 10 last time at this race. So many, we cut the race short. But this year looks a little bit better from that regard.
It looks like we're going to get all the racing if things continue as they are. This is lap number 67 of this green flag run, by the way. We went back green flag racing on lap number 25, so everybody has had to make a green flag pit stop from this point now, which is always the hallmark of a good race, a good green flag race. So we look at Melvin Atkinson there in the bottom right, trying to overtake Dan Peples for 4th position. We're approaching as well here, by the way, the lap 100, so we are getting to the stage now where everybody will be starting to think, will I have to make a second green flag pit stop to get us to the end of the race? But everybody other than Nicholas Helm has thought, I'll do that later.
Yeah, we are a little bit far away in terms of basically everyone is around 30 odd laps on their stint at this moment in time, and fuel, as we've seen, can go anywhere between 50 and 60 laps. So they are sort of halfway through this tank of fuel, and it is now really a game of when do you want to pit. to the end. Are you going to wait for a caution? Are you going to go early, have the fresher tyres now? Everyone will have, as I said, the extra set of tyres because you have 4 sets of tyres, and at the moment they're only looking to do a 2-stop race, so they will have that extra set if we have a late caution, and that could be very important indeed. It's what won Jesper Eriksson the race last year on that final caution. It was something like P16 coming to the final restart, but just stormed through the field and was able to get Linus Broström. So very nice indeed. Fortunately for him, I think we had like a 10-lap run at the end, and it stayed green the whole way, enough for him to get those positions. So definitely an interesting track here of how it works with the strategy.
In the last 10 laps or so, by the way, we have had our first couple of retirements. Tommy Aalto and Kenneth Thier have both decided to call it a day. What I've been very pleased to see so far in this race, actually, is that most drivers, despite going multiple laps down, have actually continued on, despite some very long pit stops for some. I mean, Jacques Chou is still going 15 laps down to try and pick up some points. So unfortunate to see our first couple of retirements, but still a very busy racetrack with 35 drivers all out there on the circuit at the moment and not in pit lane.
Absolutely, that is great retention rate, and to be fair, I mean the field is huge as well. 37 cars is a really great number for a community league to have, and consistently as well is up to the front. Helmbro gets to 2nd place. This is a strong race from the 77. He gets past the 10. They are 13 seconds off the lead, but 2nd place is nothing to be ashamed of at all. We have a few cars in behind actually. Pebbles Augusten not too far away, but let's see how they go as we go on board with Augusten trying to get through on his teammate.
Well, that's going to be look pretty easy actually down on the inside. Pebbles stays up high, stays right in front of the 111 as well. For whatever reason, that's Anton Brackberg who's 1 lap down. Just trying to overtake on the outside line. He, of course, has got newer tyres on. As a result, we're staying out a bit longer after the stage break, but finding this a little bit difficult to follow Melvin Ackerson through.
Yes, I was just checking. So Helmbro, he did get into the playoffs last season. He had 2 poles, and but only 1 top 5. He did get into the first round of the playoffs, then was eliminated. So this would be a very good result for him if he can keep it up there inside the top podium positions as it stands as we continue on with this battle. Look at the cars though, Ewan. As a driver, so difficult to have all these lapped cars around you when you're trying to focus on, that white car, a few meters up the road.
Yeah, they're doing their best to try and accommodate these lap cars coming through, because for the most part they're actually quicker than the leaders at the moment. They're on newer tyres, so they will be going that little bit faster. You just saw Ackerson there pulling wide to let the 111 of Brackberg go through. Now the 84 swoops between the two of them and should get down to the inside. Ackerson should let him down the inside. Then just behind is the 83 by the looks of things. That is not an overtake for position because Daniel Holmer is still over a second behind. Instead it's Jonas Skoglund who's actually chasing Anton Brackberg. So even more awkward that the lap cars are battling with one another as they're entitled to do.
Absolutely, and we're on lap 99, so 1 more to go to lap 100. 45 laps remaining in the Polski Logistics 350. Eriksson is leading the way very comfortably, but the strategies are certainly working their way up very nicely for us in behind. I wonder if a caution is going to change things very much so, but I would love to see what happens if we go green to the end with how everything is working out and the drivers stopping early, some drivers stopping late. We are on lap 40 of the stint for Eriksson, so it's not within realms of possibility that he pits in the next 10 laps.
Exactly, I'd be pitting in about 5 laps time if I was him, because effectively you'd be splitting the last part of the race in half. He pitted after 60 laps, he'd got 85 to go. I would split that in half initially just to try and keep tyre wear sort of at a minimum and try and keep your tyres as fresh as possible. If there's a caution later on, then fine, because you've still got that 1 set of tyres held back for a little bit later on. And it's for that reason that I would have stayed out under those first 2 cautions, because they will have had to use, those who came in will have had to use a set of tyres up when I don't think it was really necessary. So yeah, I think it's been a good idea for those who have not pitted under any caution so far, but you won't be running the fuel dry this time round as they did in the first stint. Jesper Eriksson, I would say, is going to come in the next 5 laps, as I certainly would.
Yeah, that is probably working out very well for him. I guess for those pitting, and also maybe the race would have been different if we had plenty more cautions, but we've been going for a very, very long time now, almost 80 odd laps of the green flag run, and that is very good for the drivers who could hold on to their tyres a little bit better. But one of those that is generally quite good with that is Linus Broström, but he's P10 as it stands and hasn't made his way up past. I mean, he's got the likes of Horgman and Aronson up ahead who are on a similar strategy, but he hasn't been able to make his way up past them. Or I say that, he is up the inside of Horgman here.
He does just get quicker and quicker and quicker as races go on, and eventually at the end you realise, nope, he's not off it today. He is just waiting for his moment to strike, and there he goes up into 9th position. It remains to be seen just how far further through the field he can go, because Jesper Eriksson is so far ahead of the rest of the field. I don't think anybody can beat him if this race stays green the whole way, but he can certainly get well inside the top 5.
Oh, definitely. He's looking good to come back with that. And yeah, I guess he's only 12 seconds off Helmbro. The issue is there's another 13 ahead of that. Such is the spread. That's pretty crazy. I've got a spread about 7-8 cars. It's the same as the gap for Ericsson. And just to bring that into perspective as well, it's only a 33-second lap at the moment, so he's basically got a third of a lap advantage at the front. But of course there's cars all over the place. Here's the 101 of Håkan Schott for Bright Esports. So Bright Esports having a very decent day with lots of cars up there. Let's see how it finishes for them. Lap 104 we go on to.
Yeah, Håkan Schott right in behind Erik Lundberg, Oliver Bohlin and Daniel Blomqvist, all involved in this battle for 11th place. See the 18 there of Lundberg getting very close to the driver in front, Wallin, but can't quite get through. Sort of interrupts his own exit there by staying on the inside, but there is a laps driver up on the high side. That's the number 34 of Jocke Schuh, who is still 15 laps down and just staying out of everybody's way.
Yeah, he's continue on the race, which is very nice, because at the end of the day, you know, a couple of points might be needed later on in the season. So very good to keep out on that one, as we are, of course, seeing the 72 there of Oliver Wallin trying to make his way up. Huge slide there, coming off turn 2. Great save from Lundberg, and he continues on, but that could have been race ending.
Certainly could have been. That was not nice. So Wiki goes right round his outside as well. Still trying to unlap himself from everybody. Feels like he's had new tyres on at almost every possible moment in this race. I don't know how he's got enough left, to be honest with you, but there we go. He goes through and sort of tries to stay out of the way of this battle for the lower end of the top 10, and then, or the lower end of the lead lap, I should say, because then Jesper Eriksson is just behind them.
Yeah, that's a little bit awkward when you get the race leader coming in behind. We're seeing a very strong battle here for P2 though, as we get towards lap 110. Holmbohm in the number 10. He is getting closer to the 77. Of course, this position's reversed just a few laps ago. But maybe the 77 now starting to struggle a little bit, because here comes one of the youngest drivers on the field.
Jesper Eriksson now comes in, so instead of trying to lap these drivers who are all so close to one another, the battle for 11th place so congested that Jesper Eriksson decides to come in, and we've got contact.
I wonder if that was a bit of miscommunication. Drivers trying to come down pit road. It was the 27. Of course, he's a few laps down, 1 lap down. Maybe trying to come down pit road, almost causing a crash, but we stay under green flag conditions, and this is an important stop. And it's also important that we didn't go under caution because of how this race is going to play out. So the reason why they're coming in now is because they can easily get to the end, and they're splitting basically their stint in half from where they previously pit. But let's see how this is going to work out. So there's already some issues there. And then it was the 83. Was that the 83 just losing the rear end, or was he trying to come down pit road? I couldn't quite work that out.
It looked like they were staying out to me, because those are not drivers on the same track. So Forsland already into trouble with the 84, which saves it quite nicely. And the 83, I don't know what's going on there, because he was going way too quickly to be possibly pitting, but also his line didn't look right for him staying on the racetrack. That was very weird.
Yeah, I wonder if he just had a bit of a slow tank slapper with the rear end finally coming around. Crazy stuff, as we're going to see a whole flurry of pit stops. And now it's a question. The drivers at the front, who are still out for now 40-odd laps, do they want to come in and cover this off, or do they want to stay out and have some fresher tyres at the end? We'll certainly have to find out as we come on to lap 110. The heat is rising here. The Polski Logistics 350 will take a few messages from our partners before we take you through the final stages of this race. And welcome back to Kansas as we start the final 30 laps of the Polski Logistics 350. Final pit stops are coming in. We saw Jesper Eriksson start that train just some 6-7 laps ago. Eracingligan has followed him in during that break, and now we are waiting to see the final couple of drivers. We've got Linus Broström, Håkan for Bright Esports at the front. How late are they going to wait to make their final pit stop? The later they stay, the fresher the tyres, but the more they will be undercut. And of course, Eriksson is only 6 seconds off Broström already. Broström has a lot of time to make up if we stay green to the end. So it's been an interesting race. As myself, Cam, Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me in the commentary box as we work our way through these final stages. And Ewan has been very interesting with the strategies because we had such a long green flag run coming up close to 100 laps.
We are now, yep. We're closing in on the most laps green of any race this season in terms of actual numbers of laps. The last 103 laps at Auto Club were green, and so were the first 4 at Bristol. So 107 is the current record. See if we can get there. We need about 20 more or so. But it has been a very long green flag run. It has made it very exciting and interesting to watch. Not in terms of all-out battling and door banging all the way through, but you don't need that in a race. You need a little bit of strategy. You need a little bit of intrigue throughout, and this is what, in my opinion, NASCAR is really missing in real life recently. You don't get these slow developing races anymore, really.
Oh, the 14 having a nice kind of slow and controlled slide, but he was able to gather that up. That was Thomas Kinnell. But yes, you are right, Ewan. The strategy has really been a big factor for the drivers today, and it's not been an easy one really to choose what is going to be the best one to get to the end, because you never know how long you're going to stay out. And just for reference, so Håkan in P3 now, he's been overtaken by Jesper Eriksson on those fresher tyres, such as the second lap advantage, but Shot is also coming close to his stop because he'll have less than 10 laps of fuel at the absolute most as Stiller comes in from P6.
He certainly does, and that is going to put him way down the field again, I'm afraid, because he's waited so long to make that pit stop. Still waiting for Linus Broström to come in as well. Håkan Schott will probably be in next if he's running it out right to his fuel limits. And Oscar Fredriksson from 11th place will have to pit very shortly as well, as he's approaching 60 laps in his stint. I'm starting to feel that these drivers who are staying out until now are really banking on there being a caution that at the moment just isn't coming.
And that's the only way they're going to do well in this race.
He's trying to come in.
Oh, yeah, Fredriksson is coming down. Very awkward pit lane entry, it seems to be here. Is up into the wall. We see Zach Kinnell again go. Not ideal as Helmbro gets past Helm. The 55 has had some issues. He's sliding around all over the place as well. Some drivers really struggling to keep the car on the track today.
Yeah, Helm, of course, made that really early pit stop trying to undercut everybody and did get into second initially, but I'm afraid he's really feeling the effects of having pitted so early now, dropping through the field quite substantially. So Jesper Eriksson is the leader of those, and Helm's in again here, so he's using his final set of tyres under green, which is especially weird.
Yeah, I guess he was waiting. With how early he pit, I guess he was waiting for that. He's trying to get that track position up to P2. Then there would be a caution. Everyone would pit, and he would remain in P2. And that's a similar situation I think that Broström is going to have at the front. He's going to lose the lead in the next lap to Jesper Eriksson. But if there is then a caution, Eriksson, I'm sure, will come in again for his final fresh set of tyres, then it will be stabilised once more. So the P1 and 2 from last year find themselves on track in P1 and 2 again. So nothing to be surprised out there. But we have 20-odd laps for them to find out which strategy is going to be for the win. But it looks like Eriksson will be taking the lead here as he gets within about 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, he's going to take the legitimate lead now, not just the net race lead, but the actual lead now on lap 122 with 24 laps to go. Jesper Eriksson back into the lead again, and he's really dominating this race. It was his second pole position of the season earlier on here today, by the way, at Kansas. He took the first one at Auto Club, but he's only been able to finish inside the top 10 once. That's put him down in 12th place in the point standings. He is going to be rocketing back up them at the end of tonight, because of this drive. It's going to put him right up towards the front, in fact, and it's going to put him in the playoffs, of course, when we get to March.
Yeah, he'll be very happy with that one to lock himself in, as Holmbaum gets past Eriksson as well. So the orange machine there dropping down. That's not ideal for them, but definitely some different tyre lives coming in into play at this moment in time. There's 40 laps difference between the SimRace Sweden car and then the Team Superior's car there. So definitely a big difference in speed as it stands. It's over a second a lap between those two drivers as we get close to 20 laps remaining.
That was a pretty slow exit for Evan Forsland. He was involved in the first caution of the day. He's just been overtaken by Ole Zakrasson for 16th place. Those drivers, by the way, off the lead lap in a race. We only have 13 on the lead lap as things stand, which is probably lower than many would have predicted at the start. Oh, goodness. Steady.
That car was sliding on the exit of 2. That's a 27 of Forsland, of course, involved in one of those early cautions, had some damage. I mean, you can see on the rear end there, that is anything but straight. Obviously hasn't fully repaired the car, and he is continuing out there, but not the day that he would have wanted. He got caught up in a couple of big wrecks in Bristol, if I remember rightly as well. So not the races 2 and 3 that he would have wanted. 101 is dropping back now. So he's made up a lot of places in this race, but he's really dropping. Oh, that's because he's in the pit lane. That'll be why, as he decides to come down pit road. He's on lap 57 of the stint, but he will have a short sprint to the end.
Certainly will. Now, that's going to be, I would say, a slight regret at the end of the day. I don't think 20 laps is really enough time to make use of the tyres. I think a better way to do it is to split this race around more evenly, should I say, and try and use up your tyres in that way. But you know, there's only so much you can do. You sort of, especially in those first couple of cautions, and if you were one of those who pitted under those first couple of cautions in this race, you sort of make your bed very early in this race, and you know, you can have regrets about something you did about 100 laps ago. Yet there's nothing really you can do about it. Can't hear Cam again at the moment, so I'll continue on. Alexander Aronson moves up into the top 10 as the 111 of Anton Brackberg now really starting to struggle in terms of tyres. I mentioned earlier on that he could probably make it in terms of fuel to the end of the race, but will he want to in terms of tyres? Well, let's see. Robert Eriksson was in a similar position, although he would never have made it on fuel. He comes in after 57 laps out on the circuit, and moving around the outside of Oliver Wallin there is Peter Helmbro, who moves up to 3rd. That's 2nd place in actuality.
And hopefully that is working a bit better. Sorry about that. Yes, it's very interesting how the final parts of this race are working out, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few disappointed teams in the chat after the race. It seems that it was all of those Bry Sports that are coming in. Wallen joins us on pit road now. Brewster will have to come in, but he just stay out as long as he can and just hope that the caution to bring him back into it. Everyone are going to fresh tyres, and then he should be able to hold on to at least the top 10 position as Brackberg is going backwards. We've got the 14 of Kinnell laps down up his inside. We've also got the 37 of Eriksson there trying to come through. That's very awkward for your race leader.
It really is, and it won't want to be seeing this at all. Lucas Holmgren looking up, or looking there. Brackberg now is put a lap down, but Lucas Holmgren is on some newer tyres. Oh, the 14 very nearly got into Eriksson there, and you can see Eriksson pulled down to the apron. He doesn't normally do that. He just wants to stay away as much as possible from these lead lap drivers, or these not lead lap drivers, I should say.
That is a dangerous car in the 14. I guess he's probably carrying some damage there as the 71 does come down pit road. He wasn't able to stay out for a caution, which is a bit of a shame for him because he was looking to be in a good position, but the strategy hasn't worked out. They were gambling on cautions for it to work, and it hasn't worked out. So what we are looking at is, of course, Eriksson is going to be leading the way, and then Helmbro is going to be in 2nd place. What a strong race from the 77 driver. I said he only had 1 top 5 last season. This is going to obviously equal that and put himself in a very nice place. I'm sure take a lot of confidence going into the mid part of the season.
Yeah, it's his only top 10 of the season so far as well. Has yet to finish in the top 10 of this season yet as Linus Broström makes his way out the pit lane. Again, he'll probably regret the way he's gone out about this race, but you can't always know when the cautions are going to fall, and it does sometimes disadvantage you in this race. By the way, we are down to 7 on the lead lap, which is less even than Bristol, somewhat remarkably.
What a weird race we've had here at Kansas. This is quite something. And I can't really explain it, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it to be quite so hectic and chaotic today, but that is what we've got. and the 37 is actually going to be overtaken by the 112 there of Fredriksson, his teammate who was leading up towards the front, got a podium last time out, but he's down in P22 now. Skoglund comes into the pit lane with just 12 laps remaining as well. So I think the biggest thing here, Ewan, has been how big the tyre drop-off is. I guess that is what's caused such crazy differences in all the strategies.
It's been a really big tyre drop-off here today, as you might expect, or as we were told anyway. I mean, Jesper Eriksson's over a second and a half slower on his best lap currently. He's only 25 laps into the stint. You know, it's been really severe, but this is what makes it so interesting, in my opinion. This is what makes racing so interesting. When there is severe tyre drop-off like this, it makes the tactical decisions very important indeed, as week 1 winner Alexander Aronson makes his way back to 6th. He's the highest placed driver to have lost positions in this race.
I'll try to think of the significance of that stat, but I don't know if that is if that is a good one to go off as such. But certainly it's a shame because he's lost 4 positions. Hordman, by the way, in P10 has gained 25. That is quite remarkable from the back apparently. So doing a good job. We've seen some positions moved. Hordman there getting past Bratberg. I believe that was for P9. We've also seen big drops from Linus Broström, 11 places. He's dropped down from obviously second row of the grid. So very disappointing day for him as we get into the final 10 laps of this race. And Ericsson is going to be winning this one comfortably. He's had a 12-second lead, you know, not even just in theory, but on paper for about half of this race.
Oh yeah, let's not applaud the horse over the line before it's won, because we've still got good 10 laps to go here, and the prospect of a caution would throw this up in the air, although you'd imagine everyone on the lead lap will come in and it will be a dash to the end, and at that point you really don't know what is going to happen. We have now broken the record, by the way, for the season in terms of the most amount of laps under green throughout one race in a row. Anyway, we've gone over 110 laps, which is now the most of any track this season, and that's going to be a pretty difficult one to beat as well.
So it seems like everyone just has the jitters and the nerves in those first 10 laps, and then we're able to go afterwards. So if they keep that, you know, that sort of mentality as we get into after the couple of restarts, maybe we'll be able to see a race this season with no cautions at all. But I do highly expect that with how eager everyone is to try and make some positions. Here's Aronson trying to make a move on Pebbles. Your man who says he can't do tyres, but he's up into P5 and he's trying to hold on to it.
As I said earlier, he was either lying to me or just can't believe where he is in the field, because he's at the moment inside the top 5 positions at Dan Pebbles, which is a fantastic place for him to be. That was pretty awkward off of turn number 4, but how many times have we seen that here so far today? Yeah, even more the surprise for Dan Pebbles, he's down in 28th in the points at the moment. It's not been a very good start to the season, but top 5 at the moment, although I do think Aronson will get past him before the end.
Yeah, although as we say with the playoffs, the playoff format, if you win a race, you're in the playoffs. Of course, you'll still be points behind. Should you then not win a race in the first stage of the playoffs, in those couple of races, you'll really have to try and win a race again. But still, if you win, you go through. So even if you have a bad start to the season, it is still in your hands to at least try and be in with a shout of winning this championship, as Pebbles and Aronson swap places. But we also see in the 72 and the 55 going at it. This is for P17. Some drivers who maybe you'd expect to be fighting up inside the top 5, such as their pace being in this race, but with strategy and everything, they are down there in P17.
Yeah, it's been a very strategic race, as we've said time and time again. Oliver Bohlin moving through the field on some of the newest tyres in the field. Linus Broström about to do the same as well. You can just see him breaking into the top 10 on the tower on the left-hand side. He's behind Hogman now for 12th position. He should be able to make that work. He might run out of time to get 8th from Lucas Holmeren.
And Bratberg comes in just 5 laps short, unfortunately. Not enough to get to the end. So this is a splash and dash. Is there anyone else really in that position? No, I think everyone has made their stops. The highest sort of laps I can see is in the 30s, so they should be all fine to get to the end of this race. But there's Brewster, as you're mentioning, now up inside the top 9 as he gets past Hogman. He needs to chase down the 0.21 of Holmeren for the next car for him. There's a couple of seconds up the road.
Yeah, I don't know if he can quite make it in time. Let's wait and see. As he's got over a second gain per lap, he's only 2 seconds behind, so maybe he will have time actually to to get up into 8th place. Again, Daniel Holmer is probably going to be a more difficult ask because he has got to pass Ericsson as well as, or unlap himself from Ericsson and get past Holmer, so that could be quite difficult as we look at Jesper Ericsson there, making that 4 laps to go now in this race.
Indeed, and what a dominant race it's been. We saw him really be the main force last season. Of course, he came up short in the championship with Michael Haflidason able to have such a strong run in the playoffs. But the 37 really was the driver of that season. He was able to win the regular season championship. He dominated so many of the races, and he was the one that everyone was thinking was going to win. But with a couple of tricky races to start, the wheels might have fallen off the wagon, but he certainly turned that round today.
He has. It's been absolutely dominant. He will rocket into the top 10 overall in points. He'll go straight into the playoffs, and he thoroughly deserves it as well. Hackenschott gets past Eric Lundberg here. That's a late pass for the 101, but he's on far newer tyres, and he might be looking at a top 10, although, again, might run out of time. Marcus Hagman looks like he is going to hang on to a top 10 and maybe get close to that championship lead. He'll only be a couple of points behind Linus Broström as things stand. I think he's going to be the leader, but don't quote me on that.
Absolutely, as we get to less than 3 miles remaining in this race. Broström, the first of the lapped cars in P8. That is crazy. 7 cars on the lead lap in a race that has been very much green. We're over 100, or basically 120 laps of green flag running as we get to the end, coming up to the white flag. And it's been a very intriguing strategic race. You can't really say too much more about Ericsson's efficiency in this one.
No, you can't. He has been so dominant in this race. No one has really been able to challenge him, not least the fact that Ericsson's strategy was probably the best, but there are plenty of people who are on the same strategy as Ericsson. They're just not quite as quick as his. He comes into the final couple of corners and he's going to take his first win of the season.
And after leading the race to Bristol, he wasn't able to finish, but now he comes across the line in round 3. The Polski Logistics 350 goes to Jesper Ericsson as he slides across the line in celebration. The 37 takes his first victory of the season and really gets his championship charge underway. He's going to be in the playoffs. We'll see him when we get to the springtime, but for now, he can celebrate as he wins here in Kansas.
Great win for Ericsson. He will be celebrating for sure, and he thoroughly deserves to as well. One of the more dominant races we've seen this season. Bristol was a race of such change through the lead of the race, but in these 2 longer circuits at Auto Club and Kansas, we've seen one name come to the fore. Jesper Ericsson here. A few weeks ago, it was Alexander Audson, of course, but here it's been all about Jesper Ericsson. Something in the air at these longer circuits where somebody does take charge of it from the beginning and they don't let go.
Yeah, I guess when you have those long green flag runs as well, if you have a driver who's just slightly better on the tyre, slightly better on the pace, that is it's just going to multiply over the laps. And in the end, we started with a couple of cautions, and I was a bit worried that we were going to be having a caution fest after 10 cautions at this race last year. Didn't manage to get the lap count, but this year it was a very sort of clean race in that regard. We did have almost a big crash coming into the pit lane. We had a couple of drivers up into the wall, but not enough to bring out a caution.
No, it was good in that respect. Nearly 300 kilometres of that 350-kilometre race were done under green, as or in that one last green flag run, I should say, as everyone nearly crashes into each other over the line doing the donuts.
Absolutely. But here's your results at the end of 145 laps in Kansas, with Dominic Savicki getting the fastest lap at lap 120. It was Jesper Ericsson getting the win, as we saw, by almost 15 seconds in the end. Peter Helmbro, his best result in this championship. That is a great one for him. What a race he had for MHE Racing up in second place. Holmbaum gets a podium in third, just holding off his teammate Melvin Åkesson in the end for 4th place. Aronson will get 5th. He should be fairly happy with that to still get a solid result. Pebbles will get 6th, and Linus Broström and Dan Holmer round out your top 8, the final drivers on the lead lap. Holmer and Hagman your top 10. as they pick up those final top points before we work our way down. Schott, Lundberg, Blomqvist, Zachrison still are your top 15. Oliver Wallen, I think he'll be disappointed with P16 in the end. Same with Helm. They were up inside the top 10 for a large amount of this race. Gans, Robert Eriksson, and Oscar Fredriksson round out your top 20. Fredriksson as well, after a strong race in Bristol, he'll look to come back next time. Pfeffer, Skogland, Broström, Bratberg, and Forsland to your top 25, with Knell, Wildeberg, Wang, Uven, and Forsell just having issues all day, multiple laps down for those drivers. And then the final page is Tademo, Hogström, Motin, Savicki, the last of the drivers really in with a shout. Then Shu, quite a few laps down. Of course, Tier and Alto, your only two real DNFs of the race. And now we'll try and get a word with, of course, your race winner, Jesper Eriksson, the number 37, moving to SimRace Sweden. And you could really say, Jesper, today you've got your championship contentions back on track, and we'll see you in the playoffs.
Yeah, no swear words, but yeah, this is such a relief after Bristol and with my stupid disconnect. I was so pissed about that, but so happy to be back on track and to be fighting for the championship again and have my ticket to the playoffs again. But still, and I just want to say big congrats to everyone in the team, big cheer to everyone, because this race was awesome for everyone in the team. I think we was 6 cars in the top 10, so I'm just so proud of absolutely everyone. So happy for the team, for myself, and just everyone is doing such a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you finding it in that new team of SimRace Sweden? As you say, you were looking very strong today, and you were on the best strategy as well. Were you sort of working together throughout that race to try and make sure you get the best team result?
Yes, absolutely. We always share our information about the pits, when to pit, how, and what to do in the pits. But yeah, this race we did have a really good strategy. But I really did want to get the stage points, so it's a big bummer I couldn't get any of them actually. So, but yeah, we in the team, we just communicate a lot, and a big team points was definitely a big priority this race.
And from a driver's perspective, how crazy was that race? Because we saw drivers going from the lead to being a lap down, but then being on faster tyres and coming back through. There was cars everywhere. It was definitely a very tricky one to work out. How did you find it? Because you were always in the net lead of the race, but you weren't actually in the lead for half of it.
For me, I never really thought about it. I just knew that if I keep this pace, it will be good. But I heard from a lot of guys, and for example, Lucas, who just followed me towards the end, how somehow just followed me, ended up in P8. But I can imagine how crazy it was. And with this car on this track, it was such a blast, because I don't think I ever steered more than 45 degrees, maybe, because this steer, you need to keep it straight, turning in and turning out, because it's such a blast.
And with such a great team result, we move to Talladega next. Restrictor plate racing. How do you think you can work together to get a good result there?
Well, we won it in my old team last year, so let's just keep that up and we'll win it again for sure.
Yeah, certainly sound confident. So congratulations for today, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you very much, boys.
All right, and then we'll bring in Cedric Holmbaum, of course, finishing in third position today in the number 10 machine. That was a very strong result from you, Cedric, of course, one of the younger drivers on the field, but it certainly seems like the lack of experience doesn't seem to mean anything, because that was a great result. How did you find that one?
I really like this track, and I followed people. So in the first stint I followed Jesper, Oscar, and now on the last stint I followed Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're obviously having a very good feeling in the car today. How was it going through the corners with the car just moving around so much?
Yeah, it's quite fun, because you have like counter steer.
Yeah, absolutely. Was that quite hard to practice, or do you just have quite a natural feeling for that?
It wasn't that hard. Like, yeah, it just felt natural.
Yeah, absolutely. That was certainly a great race from you. And do you think you can win a race this season? Because you're very close in third place.
Yeah, but there's very, very good drivers in this league. And yeah, but you can always hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations on your third place today, and we'll see you in Talladega in a couple of weeks. Well done.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we'll bring in Linus Brewster. Unfortunately, Peter Helmberg not able to join us. But Linus, it might not have been a podium today, but it very well could have been. Were you just hoping for a caution in that sort of final 20-30 laps? Because that really would have brought you back into play.
Well, yeah, first of all, huge shout out to Jesper. That speed is just incredible. I don't know what he's doing. I'm gonna figure it out. But yeah, no, that with that caution that fell early on, like lap 10, 15, no, somewhere early when we all pitted and topped up with fuel. That was to get to the stage, and from then on, the other guys pitted early enough before the stage that I thought I might as well just stay out here and hope for another caution, because there is no way we're going to go green from lap 10 to the end at Kansas. I know we did it at Hot Club, but there's no way we're going to do it here. Obviously it happened. And then pitting late on the first run, I kind of had to do the same strategy on the second run. And I thought when the sun came out, maybe we're going to get a caution, but that didn't happen. So I kind of had to weigh in, okay, where am I going to come out? How much am I willing to lose in return to, gambling to maybe get the win? 15 laps to go, I decided, okay, I gotta pit, otherwise I'm not even gonna finish top 20. So I came out like 17th or something, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm gonna finish like 12th, 13th. I will have lost 5 points. 15 laps later, I was P7, and I don't know what happened, but those last 15 laps is the most fun I've ever had on iRacing. I can tell you that.
Yeah, the I guess the long green flag combined with the strategy, I mean, there was just cars all over the place. I mean, we saw differentials of 2 seconds a lap between certain drivers. It was pretty crazy. Was that quite difficult to manage from a driver's perspective when you had all these sort of slower cars around you? Or actually, for a lot of the race, you were the slower car being overtaken?
Yeah, it's quite special. Like, you don't really know who's where and who's going to come at what line. You're just going to try and focus on yourself, and if you catch up to someone, be ready to change the line. And especially when it's as spread out as it was here, it gets really difficult. And that's what's surprising me even more, that we didn't have a caution, because that's generally when something happens. And we had some contacts and incidents, but thankfully no cautions. And just to try and know where you're at, like towards the end, I thought it was going to be like 17th to 20th, but apparently there were people behind me who still hadn't pitted either, so I jumped them because they pitted after me. And it's just really hard to figure it out, especially when you don't have anyone who's not racing. You can look at all of that, but we did 130 laps and we had 20 different strategies basically, so it's almost impossible. But in the end, I think I got to about where I could have gotten. Maybe I could have gotten 6th or 5th if I pitted a little bit earlier, but at the same time they would have had a bit more speed, so I think I netted out basically where I should have been.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough race for you, but hopefully you and the MABI Bright Sports crew can come back stronger and work together in Talladega in a couple of weeks. We'll see you then.
Thank you. Have a good one.
So that wraps up here from Kansas, the third race of the season for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. We go back racing in the Oval Series in a couple of weeks. As I've been saying, at Talladega Super Speedway, team play will be crucial. Can someone push their teammate into a playoff place? We already have 3 drivers. We've got Eracingligan, Holmer, and now Jesper Eriksson locking themselves into that playoffs, which will start in March. A lot of racing to happen before then, but it's been myself, Cameron Roger. We've got Ewan O'Leary alongside me and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpot TV broadcast. And from here, the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan will see you next week for another round of the IndyCars.